What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Fruit Loop, what you know?
I know. Okay, let me tell you. So I made these things the other day. I know this is good. When you was gonna say something good, I was gonna say barbecue croissants.
What?
Yeah, you're gonna think I'm crazy.
Yeah,
So
I'm there.
so I made barbecue and you put it in a croissant and you bake it in the oven with a little cheese on it.
Ooh,
It's really good. It's like a barbecue sandwich, except it's a croissant. Y'all will thank me.
that sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's
Good
good.
deal.
Yep.
Well, real quick, shout out to our sponsor, Two Cool T-Shirt Quilts. Go to twocooltshirtquilts.com/pretty lies and alibis and pick you out something real nice to do with all those t-shirts you got laying around that you never wear because we know you got them.
Yep.
And what can they do, Fruit Loop?
They can take your t-shirts and make them into a quilt that is too cool.
Yes, they can. Don't forget to sign up for True Crime Feud. We'll be live this Saturday at 8:30. Looking forward to it. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, and it's going to be a mixture of popular answers and just questions with an answer. So it's going to be good.
Oh, that sounds really, really fun. So
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, I think starting tomorrow, we're going to start covering this Chandler Halderson trial. I'm going to tweet out the link. This is a trial that's going on right now. It's live. Law and Crime is streaming it all day. And I watched the openings this morning and it's a little intriguing. It's a Chandler is a young man, I think early 20s. He is accused of murdering and dismembering his parents and hid them on this farm. And it's this kid lied about everything, had told everybody, including his girlfriend, that he was going to college and he was never in college, and told his parents he had a job, never had a job. It just sort of sucked me in. So after we get done with this, I'm going to start those openings over completely and start making notes. It's it's just something current going on, and I've really missed covering a live trial because we haven't had anything going on.
Yeah. It'll be
We've
fun.
got yeah, so I
Yeah.
I'm going to tweet out some links, Facebook some links for you guys to start getting into this trial, read some stuff on it, but I think it's going to be a good one. So, we didn't have time last week to do our summary on the Murdaugh trial and then Duggar. And since we just got finished covering Duggar in November, we're actually going to do a little bit more of a timeline from the beginning with him when all these problems started. It's very alarming when you kind of read this laid out. Fruit Loop, you look like you are trying to portal out of here if you're on
I
YouTube.
am. I'm leaving.
It's so
I'm
funny
out.
when you get up and move before we get started. It looks like that's your
Yeah.
portal.
It's
How
cool like looking.
fancy!
Yeah.
So for Murdaugh, this is going to be the case that keeps on giving. I think that we're just getting started with the charges for him. So this is a really good way if you're new to the case and just really didn't know where to start. We're just going to summarize the main points of what happened since June last year when Maggie and Paul were murdered. I think it was
Yep.
June. Yeah, June. And then that's going to be it with our, this is actually a New Year summary because we just were a little late with it, but let's get started so we can get through this. So on June 7th, 2021, Paul and Maggie Murdaugh are found murdered by Alec, the dad, the husband. They're near the dog kennels on the property, and the cause of death for both was multiple gunshot wounds. And it was quickly announced that there was no danger to the public. So our ears went up and we were like, they know something. I mean, when you have two very
Yep.
prominent family members from a family that really had a stronghold on the low country in a legal sense for almost 100 years, and then they very quickly say there's no threat to the public, you just do the math. So Alec had told authorities that he had been out shooting and found Maggie and Paul when he went home. Excuse me. I'd also heard he went to see his dad, who was terminal, who actually died a few days after Paul and Maggie, ironically.
Yeah.
So Paul, who is the younger son, they have another son, Buster. Paul was awaiting trial for boating under the influence, which killed Mallory Beach back in February of 2019. If you aren't familiar with this, we do have some episodes way back where we go into depth. We go in depth with all this stuff. So you can check it out. We're still working on getting all that categorized on the website, but we'll get it there. So on June 17th, Alex's brothers were on Good Morning America saying they didn't think he was involved in any way with these murders and that he loved his wife and his son. So on June 22nd, the death investigation into Stephen Smith was reopened after they uncovered information during the double homicide investigation. Real quickly, Stephen Smith is somebody who is rumored to have been involved with Buster Murdaugh. That's kind of the big, we don't usually do rumor, but it's been reported in mainstream media, so we're okay saying that. He ended up dead in a roadway. Originally, it was ruled a gunshot wound, but the medical examiner at MUSC was very, man, it just, she seemed like a pill, but she eventually said it was a hit and run. I think she said he had been hit by the mirror of a semi truck. Like how? How does that happen?
Yeah. There's a lot of twists and turns to this case too.
Yes. So on June 25th, a $100,000 reward was put up for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the murder or murderers of Maggie and Paul. September 3rd, Alec resigns from his law firm.
September 3rd.
Oh, I think we're overlapping a bit. Sorry, go ahead. You go ahead with September 3rd.
Am I good? You can hear me?
I can hear you now. You were
Is
kind of
there a
doing that
delay?
thing again where you were lagging a bit, but
like that, yeah. September 3rd, Alec resigns. Does it look like Kung Fu Theater again?
A little bit. You're choppy.
I'm good. Choppy. See, you're good on my end. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm good.
And my signal is like strong, so I don't know. Go figure. September 3rd, Alec resigns from his law firm. He released a statement saying the murders of my wife and son have caused an incredibly difficult time in my life. I've made a lot of decisions that I truly regret. I'm resigning from my law firm and entering rehab after a long battle that has been exacerbated by these murders. I'm immensely sorry to everyone I've hurt, including my family, friends, and colleagues. I ask for prayers as I rehabilitate myself and my relationships. So September 4th, Alec calls 911 saying he had been shot by a passerby while checking his rear tire. And remember, it had the run flats.
Yeah, what a moron.
Yeah. So he said someone in a truck passed by him, turned around, and fired at him. This was another. He was airlifted to a hospital in Savannah, Georgia for a gunshot wound to the head. Remember, there was never any photos of him with any kind of bandage, remember?
Yeah, I mean, when he was arrested the first time at that bond hearing, they were saying that he had an entry and exit wound and all this, and like the back of his head looked nice, fine.
Yeah, and a fractured skull.
Right, yeah.
That was what his attorney said. So September 7th, Alec's law firm says he left due to misappropriating of funds. That's an understatement. September 8th, Alec's brother Randy said he was shocked to learn of Alec's opioid addiction and misappropriation of funds. The same day, the South Carolina bar suspended his law license. September 13th, South Carolina Law Enforcement Division starts investigating the missing money from the law firm. And then on the 14th, SLED announces that Curtis Eddie Smith has been charged in connection with the roadside shooting of Alec Murdaugh. He was charged with assisted suicide, assault, and battery of a high and aggravated nature, pointing and presenting a firearm, insurance fraud, and conspiracy to commit insurance fraud.
And one thing that I didn't put in the notes, I don't think, is that we just recently learned that he had been paying him, I think, around $2 million over the course of some time. And those payments finished up right before these double murders. Just very, that's suspicious.
That's weird.
That's weird. So on September 15th, the Murdaugh attorney said Alec had Curtis Eddie Smith, he wanted to have him shoot and kill him. And Alec's attorney, Dick Harpootlian, said on September 4th, it became clear Alex believed that ending his life was his only option. Today, he knows that's not true. For the last 20 years, there have been many people feeding his addiction to opioids. During that time, these individuals took advantage of his addiction and his ability to pay substantial funds for illegal drugs. One of those individuals took advantage of his mental illness and agreed to take Alex's life by shooting him in the head. He's blaming everybody but his client, who is currently in jail with no
Nope.
bond. Fortunately, Alec was not killed by the gunshot wound. Alec is fully cooperating with SLED in their investigations into his shooting, opioid use, and the search to find the person or people responsible for the murder of his wife and son. Alex is not without fault, but he is just one of many whose lives have been devastated by opioid addiction. So the same day as this statement, the sons of the former Murdaugh housekeeper, Gloria Satterfield, filed a lawsuit against Alex, saying they never received any settlement money from their mother's wrongful death suit, which is interesting because Alec approached them and told them to sue. He said, "You need to sue me and we'll get you some money." Not only that, but he had his old college roommate and friend represent them in this suit, and they never saw any money until he was in the pokey. So SLED is also opening an investigation into her death due to information gathered during these investigations. I think this year we're going to probably find some news out about these murders and Stephen Smith and Gloria Satterfield's deaths. For me, the fact that they even associated those investigations in a statement about Alec Murdaugh tells me a lot. They've got something. They've got something big on him, and I don't think we've seen the half of these charges that he's going to be facing.
No.
So we're going to jump to September 16th.
So Alec surrenders to authorities in connection with a roadside shooting from September 4th. He said his reasoning for the roadside shooting was to allow his surviving son, Buster, to collect a $10 million life insurance policy. Man, there's a lot of money passes between these families.
You're not kidding. I mean, millions of dollars. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me he bought opioids with all those millions.
Ain't no way.
Uh-uh.
So what the world? Alec was charged with insurance fraud, conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, and filing a false police report. September 18th, he has a bond hearing and was released on a $20,000 personal recognizance bond. He returned to rehab. October 6th, Alec's former law firm sues him, saying he had funneled money into a fake bank account for years. He is accused of stealing from clients. October 14th, Alec is arrested after being released from rehab in Orlando, Florida. He was charged with 2 felony counts of obtaining property by false pretenses related to the settlement in the Gloria Satterfield case. The family of Gloria Satterfield says Alec stole more than $4 million in settlements from her death. October 19th, Alec appears in Richland County for a bond hearing, and the judge said that he was a threat to himself and the community and says no bond until Alec has a psychiatric evaluation. November 2nd, Alec's assets are frozen by a judge as part of the Mallory Beach wrongful death suit. And that was smart.
Yeah, because Buster was the executor of that estate and had I don't think he had many restrictions at all. And right before this happened, if you remember, Buster and his uncle are pictured in Vegas sitting at the table. So I'm sure the judge is like, whoa,
wait a minute.
We better put this back in the kitty for all these eventual lawsuits. Not even mentioning the Mallory Beach or the Satterfields at that point.
Yeah.
So November 4th, a grand jury indicts Alec and Curtis Eddie Smith related to the roadside shooting. November the 11th, Gloria Satterfield's family reaches a settlement with Palmetto State Bank. November 16th, the Satterfield family reaches a settlement with attorney Corey Fleming, a college roommate of Alex, who he recommended to the Satterfields to represent them in the original wrongful death suit that Alex suggested they file against him. On December the 9th, the Satterfield family files a lawsuit against Curtis Eddie Smith, saying that Alec paid him over $2 million in the span of 6 years, and that money should have gone to Gloria's family. And I've lost my place. Where am I? Oh, the same day, the South Carolina State Grand Jury hands down 7 indictments, which consists of 21 new charges against Alec Murdaugh. These include 9 breach of trust with fraudulent intent, 7 counts of computer crimes, 4 counts of money laundering, and 1 count of forgery. Let's see, there are currently 48 charges against him. And December 13th, his bond is set at $7 million just from the grand jury indictments. At this point, with just the charges he has gathered since July, I think he's facing over 500 years in prison. So,
Didn't his attorney say he can't afford that $7 million?
yeah, he did, because everything's frozen. And I mean, look, he probably has no friends at this point. Nobody wants to be associated with that name. So he's in the pokey for the long haul, unfortunately.
Well, the big thing is, I mean,
Not
that's why judges
unfortunately.
set bonds that high.
Yeah, because well, it's just like if you think back with Lori Vallow, they gave her what
Mhm.
$5 million in Hawaii. When she got to Idaho, it was down to $1 million, and those were for misdemeanors. I mean, it was just it
Yeah.
was a way to keep. They know at this point he's not going to be able to get the $7 million bond.
Yeah.
So
He would
we're
be
gonna.
such a flight risk, like major
Oh
flight
yeah,
risk.
for sure, for sure. And not only that, but look, I mean, the guy's probably made a ton of enemies with all
Yeah.
the stuff that's come out. People that didn't realize they've been screwed by him are probably starting to realize now they have.
Yeah.
Um, just the start of the charges with him, and we didn't even scratch the surface, y'all. You can go back and listen to our past episodes. Fitz News is kind of the source for this case. And so
Yep.
if you want to read a lot of really in-depth stuff, go check them out. So we're going to jump into Josh Duggar, and we talked about not rehashing this trial, but more of kind of a look back from the beginning with him and how this was. I mean, he is a predator. He is disgusting. He was also, I do think, failed as a teenager. There was ample evidence to get that boy some major, major help, and they didn't. I'm not excusing it. He's a grown man who made his own decisions, but I'm just saying sometimes you can't pray stuff away. You got to actually get professionals involved. So I thought this was really ironic. Jim Bob, he in 2002, this is how the family was discovered. He was running for a Republican Senate seat in Arkansas. And of course, they caught the camera's eye with these stair step kids, like a whole line of them, and they were all
Yep.
dressed alike and all that. He was quoted as saying that rape and incest represent the worst crimes and should be treated as capital crimes. I thought that was very, very ironic, because what happens next, Fruit Loop? The same year.
They find out that Josh had molested his sister when a sister confessed that Josh was touching her as she slept. So then Jim Bob didn't contact authorities. I said that southernly. Authorities. And disciplined him on his own. When he came aware of the molestations, he met with an elder in their church, and they decided to send Josh away from March to July of 2003. But I think we found out during that it was something different, right?
No,
I
this
don't
was uh no, I mean, he was sent away for molesting his sisters.
No, I know that, but where he went, it was basically a joke.
Yeah, I think he had to help, like, build a house or something. I don't know. It
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
yeah,
It was nothing to yeah.
like hard labor. I know
Yeah.
at one point they said too that they made him shave his head in front of the
Yeah.
church or in front of some people, but
Yeah.
man, mm.
Crazy. So Jim Bob and the elders took Josh to an Arkansas state trooper, Joe Hutchins. When he returned home, no charges were filed, and it was said he gave Josh a stern talking to. Oh my goodness. It's such a serious thing.
Yeah.
And it was treated like it was just something minor.
Yeah. Oh, but it gets better. Not better, but what happens with Hutchins?
Yeah, so 4 years later in 2007, Hutchins was sentenced to prison for child abuse material. He also had talked to someone online. He was released but reoffended in 2010 and is now in prison for 56 years. They found images on his county issued computer he used as a court bailiff. And Jim Bob knew him personally, right?
Of course he did.
Yeah. So then 2004, the Duggars appear on 14 Kids and Counting. It's a 43-minute documentary. December of 2006, the Duggars were scheduled to be on the Oprah Winfrey Show, but an anonymous email is sent to the show detailing the molestations of 2002. The email also said Jim Bob lies to his church and his friends to make himself look good, so Oprah canceled the interview. I remember all that.
Yeah, I do too. Well, we found
Yeah.
out about it afterwards, but you
But
think
yeah,
about
like
it
I
though, that
remember when that came out.
he's running for this Senate seat. They're parading themselves as this fundamental Christian family on TV. And look, families aren't
Mhm.
perfect, but they're hiding a really big secret from not only their church, but like TV executives. Every single person that watched that show for years thinking, wow, how do they do it? I mean,
Yeah.
they're phonies. I mean, not the kids. I mean, I do feel bad for, you know, most of I mean, not Josh, but I mean, just they lied in
Yeah.
such a big way. It's not like maybe they didn't pay their taxes. Their son's a predator.
Yeah. And you see, if you don't get help, it just snowballs and
Yeah.
it
I
just
mean,
turns into look where he's at now.
right.
Um, okay, so the letter was faxed to the Department of Human Services. December 2006, Arkansas police interviewed Jim Bob and Michelle from a tip received on a child abuse hotline and the letter sent to Harpo Productions, which is the Oprah show.
Hmm.
The statute of limitations had passed by the time they were interviewed. So in September of 2008, TLC debuts their show. October of 2008, Josh and Anna get engaged. May 19th, 2015, In Touch Weekly breaks the molestation story. It had been mentioned since 2007 on blog posts and forums, but this was the first time the news went mainstream.
Well, you think about it. Somebody took the time to send this into Oprah Winfrey before she has him on.
Mm-hmm.
It's been something that's talked about online for a very long time. It I mean, clearly it had to be somebody that they trusted that knew this, that knew they were phony.
Yeah.
I mean, but
Yeah.
anyways, so May 21st, 2015, Josh was 27 at the time, by the way. He confirms the accusations of the molestations on Facebook, saying, 12 years ago, as a young teenager, I acted inexcusably, for which I'm extremely sorry and deeply regret. I hurt others, including my family and close friends. We spoke with the authorities where I confessed my wrongdoing, and my parents arranged for me and those affected by my actions to receive counseling. I understood that if I continued down this wrong road, that I would end up ruining my life. I talk about foreshadowing.
Yep.
I sought forgiveness for those I had wronged and asked Christ to forgive me and came into my life and come into my life. I would do anything to go back to those teen years and take different actions. In my life today, I'm so very thankful for God's grace, mercy, and redemption. So he was a member of the Family Research Council, where he was going around talking about family values and all this stuff. So on May 22nd, TLC stops airing 19 Kids and Counting, and they lost pretty much every major sponsor they had. May
Yeah.
22nd, 2015, Arkansas Judge Stacy Zimmerman orders police to destroy the file into Josh and everything that happened and order they expunge the record. Technically, those kind of records are kept indefinitely. So seems like a little preferred treatment. I wonder if she's friends with Jim Bob too.
Mm-hmm.
So June 2015, Jim Bob and Michelle go on Fox News and admit that 4 of Josh's sisters were victims of his. And USA Today reported that the Duggars were more upset that his records were released and threatened to sue over this than they seemed about the girls. And Jim Bob said the reason to sue would be to protect juvenile records because mistakes kids make should be sealed. Although he's saying incest should be punishable by death.
Yeah. Cover up, cover up, cover up.
Mhm. So July 2015, TLC cancels their show. And then August 2015, Josh is exposed in the Ashley Madison scandal. And Ashley Madison's description was to provide discreet encounters for married people. So Josh releases another statement saying, I've been the biggest hypocrite ever. While espousing faith and family values, I've secretly, over the last several years, been viewing adult material on the internet, and this has become a secret addiction. And I became unfaithful to my wife. I've been, where did I go? Lord have mercy. I've secretly, over the last several years, been viewing pornography on the internet. And then he says again, he was unfaithful. So what happens in 2019?
Department of Homeland Security executes the search warrant on Josh's car dealership. On his work computer, they found proof of him downloading and viewing child abuse materials. April 29, 2021, he's arrested and gets federal charges for possessing and receiving child abuse materials. And of course, he pled not guilty. May 5th, he is released on bond into the custody. This was the biggest joke.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Of guardians who are personal friends of Jim Bob and Michelle. He was ordered to have GPS monitoring, home confinement, and could only leave if he was going to work, education, religious activities, or medical issues. He could not have contact with minors except for his own children, but Anna had to be there. November 16th, 2021, Anna announces the birth of their 7th child, a daughter. December 9th, Josh is found guilty on both charges. And we know what sentencing is coming up in April.
Yep.
And also that he is reportedly in solitary confinement.
For his own protection, from what I read. So that catches us up, summarizes what we learned over the past year about both of these bad boys. Yeah. And I don't know that we'll hear a lot more about Josh after the sentencing. I don't expect it to be some mind-blowing sentence. They're usually not for first offenders, unfortunately. And the sentencing guidelines, I think we've heard anywhere from like 5 to 12 years is what they sort of expect him to get. Mm-hmm. Still confusing because he was found guilty on both counts, which both carry up to 20 years each. But I mean, look, if you look at the patterns throughout this guy's life, he's been an offender really since testosterone started pumping through his veins. And he's going to reoffend again as soon as he gets out. People, I just don't have faith that a lot of people who do this stuff are ever redeemable. I just don't, because you always hear they reoffend. I'm sure there are success stories, but as a whole, it's a sick disease that, they're predators. And it scares me to death. I have kids out in this world, and I would catch a charge because I would snipe somebody if they touched my kids. Sorry.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So anyways, that's all we have for today. So we are done summarizing. We were going to summarize some more cases, but there really just hasn't been a lot of developments. We really are keeping an eye on Orson West. Still haven't heard anything about these two boys who have been gone for over a year now, just vanished. Somebody knows something. I'm waiting on the day we get an alert that they know something about. I don't think they're alive, unfortunately, after all this time, but it needs to come to an end. Hopefully they're working behind the scenes. So we are going to start covering this Chandler Halderson trial starting tomorrow. I'll tweet out a bunch of links, Facebook them, and you guys can kind of get a backstory, and we're going to dive in.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Have a good one.